Comedy Hype News, I'm Travis Adonis. Here's how Eddie Murphy has tried to help Redd Foxx's career. When comedy transcends generations, it becomes something more than entertainment. It becomes a culture and a lifestyle. This was the impact comedy legend Redd Foxx has had, and it still has, on the lives of comedians young and old. During his riveting and exciting life, Foxx lived to the fullest. He was the type of person who understood that tomorrow is not promised, that we all die of something, and that you might as well have the best time while you're here. But even considering what could be seen as a decadent lifestyle, Foxx valued hard work. His creativity and dedication were aspects of his character that earned him success. But while Foxx experienced the trappings of luxury and fame and wealth, his lifestyle also landed him in hot water with the IRS in the later stages of his life. He was a deeply complex man who both defined and was defined by those closest to him, who freely gave his love and did not receive enough of it in return, and who struggled regardless of these things. His life was unjust and saved by his relationship with Eddie Murphy. People hardly put into him what he put into them. In his death, he left a mountain of debt, a string of failed marriages, and a legacy that lives on today. It's reported in a People's Magazine article that Foxx has reportedly earned $4 million in a single year, but depleted his fortune with a lavish lifestyle, exacerbated by what he called a very bad management. This bad management would be a recurring theme in Foxx's life. Foxx was in a precarious situation, and worse than broke, he was in debt. But even through his failed marriages and insurgence of debt, the comedian's generosity did not waver and never got away from him. His good karma eventually came back around thanks to rising comedy star Eddie Murphy. Murphy was a longtime fan of Foxx and was keenly aware of his financial troubles as much as the public was. In 1988, Murphy tapped Foxx to co-star in his newest project, Harlem Nights. Originally, Foxx was to be paid $250,000, but after some negotiation, his bill went up to $560,000. When I wrote my film, said Murphy, I had in mind who I wanted to play each character. Redd's character Benny, and when I was writing, I envisioned Redd saying everything I was writing on paper. I grew up admiring and laughing at Redd, so everything was tailor-made for him. Redd is a brilliant comedian, even though most people think of him as Sanford. Murphy's vision was huge. It was a multi-generational coming together of bring down the house comedians, and because of this, the time on set was magical. Redd Foxx and Della Reese, longtime friends, co-starred in the movie and brought with them decades-long history of witty jabs and quick barbs. They ribbed each other mercilessly, like an old married couple, and their good-natured banter on set of Harlem Nights kept Eddie Murphy so entertained that he dashed into the trailer one day. Within a half an hour, wrote a treatment for a television show in which Redd and Reese would co-star as husband and wife. Although the vision was there, Harlem Nights received unfavorable reviews from critics. The LA Times reported, in this buddy movie with three generations of stand-up comics, Murphy, Pryor, and Redd Foxx together, two buddies always melt in the background. The comedians were friends, but Anthony Major suspected tensions arose due to Murphy's unwillingness to receive criticism about the production and the direction of the movie. I think Della and Redd got a little frustrated because Eddie wanted to do it his way, and he never really asked them how did it go. I mean, you're talking about an era that Redd and Della lived through. So as good as a movie it was, it could have been much, much better if Eddie had just asked them. They were willing to give information to him. Unfortunately, most of Fox's earnings from Harlem Nights will go right back to the IRS, and Foxx continued to be extravagant with his money, buying expensive gifts for his employees, buying drugs, and refusing to stand down to the IRS, which it turns out did illegally procure some of his assets. Rolling even deeper into debt with a whopping $3 million in taxes due to the IRS, Foxx was on his last leg. He pleaded with those in Hollywood who had once been beneficiaries of his generosity to show him the same kindness he had once shown them. The star who solidified careers like Bernie Mac and LaWanda Page asked for help, but very few people answered the call. With his back against the wall, Foxx reached out to Murphy, knowing the young actor was in a place where he could assist him without much worry. Eddie is in a position to totally get me out of this, Foxx said. After not hearing from them for a while, Murphy's people swooped into Foxx's aid, but the IRS wanted them to pay the lump sum of Foxx's debt with no payment plan, and in exchange, Foxx would be indebted to Murphy. Foxx's accountant, Louis Pittman, convinced him not to take the deal. However, instead, Pittman said, "We worked out a reduction in Redd's payments and a payment schedule." It was around this time that Foxx began production of The Royal Family, the show conceived in Eddie Murphy's Harlem Nights trailer. Originally, Murphy wanted the title of the show to be Chest Pains, in remembrance of Fox's tendency to clutch his chest as he pretended to collapse on Sanford and Son. However, Growing Pains was already established on ABC. With the quick change to the name, Murphy sold the show to CBS, with the stipulation that he was credited as the show's creator and executive producer. Anthony Major stated, "I just negotiated with Eddie's people, and what we had to do was to work it out so Redd could work, because this was the time of the taxes and the IRS and all of that stuff." Heat from the IRS was starting to die down, with a portion of Fox's paycheck being essentially garnished by them. But while the cast seemed to be getting along well, the show creator was nowhere to be found. Major claimed, "Once we signed the contract, we never saw Eddie again." Although Murphy's remained absent from the set, his generosity was not unnoticed. Black and Blue, the Redd Foxx story states, Eddie Murphy was giving Redd perhaps his final shot at capturing some of the old Sanford and Son magic to prove he still had it. The Royal Family was a traditional sitcom centering Fox and Reese as Al and Victoria Royal, a couple on the verge of retirement. After a divorce, their daughter, Elizabeth, played by Marianne Alda, and her 3 kids, Kim, Curtis, and Hillary, played by Silver Gregor, Lorenz Tate, and the late Naya Rivera, respectively, who was only 4 years old at the time, moved back in with them. The show was funny. It was up to date. It was about what was happening during a time where children were going back to their mothers and fathers because they didn't have enough money from their jobs, and they had families they couldn't take care of. The premise was solid, and the chemistry between the cast was superb, but Fox had clashed with the white writers and producers who did not understand writing in a black voice or the necessity to represent black families in a certain way. For example, Fox refused to call one of Al's grandsons boy because of the racist undertones, and refused to call him kid because of the animalistic undertones. Fox wanted to call his grandson by his proper name. Often, they would claim to make changes to the script and send it back with no actual changes made. This infuriated Fox. Reese says, the producer was always telling Redd how to be black, and he was white, so he didn't know how to be black. Despite the clashes and altercations on the set of Murphy's show, the reviews were in and the show did extremely well. It was a hit, said Reese. The show drew good numbers in and boosted CBS's Wednesday night viewership. There was even a possibility that the show would get picked up for a full season, which was rare for a show so early in production. Unfortunately, it would be Redd Foxx's last time performing. On October 11, 1991, after only 4 episodes into production, Fox suffered the most ironic death of all, a fatal heart attack, almost identical to the one he would feign on Sanford and Son. His co-star Della Reese, as well as everyone else, thought it was a joke. She recounts the incident. "He did what we thought was a pratfall, because he did it all the time. And we all stood there laughing while he was laying on the floor. He'd had a heart attack." After being resuscitated for mere hours, Fox died $3.6 million in debt. At this point, CBS had to determine how to move forward with the royal family. After talks of bringing in Sherman Hemsley or John Amos to replace Fox in different roles, the network decided to work the death of Redd's character into the show and introduce Jackie Harry as the estranged half-sister of Reese's character. Shortly after the first episode without Fox aired, the show went on a hiatus, and when it returned, it had been reworked with Jackie Harry no longer playing Victoria Royal's sister, but her and Al's oldest daughter. But through all of the reworking, the show was never quite the same, and the plug was pulled in May, with 2 episodes remaining unaired. In a recent Vanity Fair article for his movie Dolomite, although he did not attend the funeral, Murphy talks about the burden he's carried on seeing many celebrities off, including Fox. "I buried Redd Foxx. I literally had to bury Redd Foxx. I buried so many people over the years. For some strange reason, a lot of people in show business, when they die, they don't have their stuff in order." Murphy says he's covered many expenses, including the funeral and the headstone. He spoke kindly of Fox and remembered him fondly. "We were close, and I did love Redd Foxx. It is unfortunate that in the time Redd Foxx spent here, his generosity often went unmatched. Fortunately, he had a few people who remained grateful to him for the laughs, encouragement, and notoriety he dished out. And while Murphy's relationship with Fox was a bit exploitive at times, it was also full of love and concern. For Fox, it almost seems as if it was less about the money and more about his desire to love, be loved, and to help others. Stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. Follow Comedy Hype across all social media and look out for original content on our new streaming services at comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Travis Adonis.